Right, welcome to our lesson on Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras theorem is basically a concept they're going to ask in your GCSE, whether you're doing AQA or whether you're doing an Excel or any exam board, they're going to ask you a question on Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras theorem was a theorem or a theory that was discovered by somebody in many years ago, who discovered that basically if you have a triangle, that if you measure the base of the triangle, this base here, and you measure the height, this A here, and you measure the hypotenuse, that he discovered that if you are to square the hypotenuse and square the height and the base and add the square of the base and the square of the height, you will always find the square of the hypotenuse alongside. And he says if now that this base, you can use it to form a square, and this height here, you can use it to form a square, and that if you have to fit these squares up together to form a right angle, so basically 90 degrees, the other side will form a square, which is the sum of these squares here. In other words, if I was to count these squares at the bottom here and count these ones and add them together, their sum will give you this one. So it's as if three squares can fit together to form a right angle triangle in between them, such that the square that is here is the sum of the squares that are here. Right? So this one I got 1, 2, 3 times by 3 is basically 9. So this is 9 squares. And these ones are 16 squares. So 9 plus 16 would fit nicely with the 12 there. Okay, so that's what Pythagoras theorem is about. And that only works with right angle triangles. It doesn't have work with other non-right angle triangles. So the formula is always basically given by this. If you look at this triangle here, it's always that if you square the A, this short side at the bottom here, and you square the B, this other short side that is basically the height, then if you add them, you're getting the square of the C. Okay, so this is the Pythagoras theorem. This is a formula you need to be able to remember to work out a question that we're going to be looking at here. All right, so for your GCSE, you need to know this. Even for year 9, year 10, you're already doing this. You need to understand this very well. Most of the questions that you get in this will be calculator, and the button we're going to be using a lot here would be the square root button here and also the square root button here. So these are the ones you're going to be using a lot. So you should be able to use them. So squaring a number, you press the button with x square. Okay. So if, say, for example, I wanted to do 5 square, I'll do 5. And then, basically just press this x square button here. Okay, which is basically that. And that will square the 5 for you automatically if you press enter. Okay. If I want to find the square root, I will be pressing that button there. Yeah, this button that is here, that's got something there. And you just type your number in. So the square root of 25 will always be 5. Okay, so be able to use those calculators a lot. So make sure you have your calculator in front of you as we begin this. Okay. So what kind of questions will they ask us? They will give you a triangle like this, and they're going to ask you to find the missing side. Let's say the missing side is basically C here. Okay, let's see that. So we know that if you square 6 and you square 4 and you add them, you get the square of this. So if I want to find C, so I say C squared is going to be equals to A squared, which is 6 here, and B squared, which is basically that 4 there. So I'm going to say that C squared equals to A squared, A is 6, and basically B is going to be 4 squared. Now you can put 6 squared in your calculator, or you can just do it off head. 6 squared is basically 36, and 4 squared is basically 16. Okay, so this C squared will be equals to 36 plus 16, which is basically going to be 52. Okay, but we don't want C squared, we want what C is. So you're going to do the square root, you do the opposite of squaring. So C is going to be equals to the square root of 52. Okay, now what I want you to do is to press this button here, the square root button, this one, and then you just basically type 52 inside. Okay, so you're going to do that now and see what answer you're getting. Now, you'll get a number that's sad form. If you want to change the number into decimal, you then need to press this S and D button here, that button. So you'll always get something that has got square roots in it, a number. All you need to do is to press this S and D, the button that's got S and D. It will always convert between fractions, decimal, and stuff. Okay, so if you do that, you're going to find that your answer is 7.2 centimeters to 1 decimal place if you round it up. Okay, so that's how to do this kind of questions. Right, so what I want to do now, if you want to pause the video now and have a go at question A all the way to question D, please. Have a go at question A all the way to question D. Okay, hope you try that. So I'm just going to pick two questions for you. I'm going to pick question B and I'm going to pick question D for you. Okay, they ask you work out the length of the hypotenuse in each of these triangles. The hypotenuse will always be the longest side. So if I call this one B, then let me just call that one B, this hypotenuse here. Now remember in exam, they can use any letter. This is always C, but you can see here that I've just used B for it. It doesn't really matter. The most important thing is that you know that this basically is the longest side. So if you square the longest side, you'll always get the two shorter sides squared and added together. Okay, so I'm just going to use B for this. So I know that the formula will be C squared equals to A squared plus B squared. That's the formula I know. But I know that C here is not C anymore. It's going to be B. It could be X or anything. So I'm just going to say that having known this formula, I just know that B squared is the longest side I'm looking for, which is basically this C here. Now A will be this other side, 5 squared, and then my B, the B that I know, will be the other shorter side, which is going to be 12. Okay, so that's 12 squared. Remember, this B can be X, can be anything. So I've got B squared there equals to 25 plus 144. Okay. Now then B squared again, it just simplifies. 25 plus 144 is going to be equals to 169. And all you now need to do in your calculator to find what B is, you're going to square root 169. Okay. So again, press the square root button, which is somewhere there, and then just type that in. And when you do that, the answer is going to be 13 centimeters. Okay. Basically 13 millimeters because you're using millimeters. So sorry about that. That should be millimeters. Okay. I just assume that should be millimeters. Okay. Now the last one here again, the longest side is this one here. Let me call it D. Let me just call it D. It's the longest side. That's the hypotenuse. So I know that D squared will equals to A squared plus B squared. Okay. Now this will go in the calculator for you. So if you square 52, the answer is so D squared. If you square 52 and then just double it because there are two of them, you're gonna get 5,408. Okay, that's what you're gonna get. But I want D. To find D, you square root that. So 5408 and just square root it. Okay, so if you square root that, you're going to end up with something that says 52 root 2. And you just press the SD button I told you, this button here, S and D button there. It will then change that for you to decimal. And that should basically be 73.5 meters. Okay. So that's how to do this kind of question. So we're looking for the longest side, which is quite easy to do really. So what I want you to do now, if you just want to pause the video quickly and then use the answers that are here to do that. Right, so this one here I've got slightly different answers. You just want to check again using your calculator. There could be a mistake on that part there. So I don't think this one is correct. So just use the 73 we had to mark that. Okay. Right, so hope you got that one. So that's going to be the end of our session.